Okay, so hello everyone. My name is Magdalena Kończkowska, aka Power Girl. I am Microsoft MVP, and today's show is this our first Power Platform and Dynamics 365 online cooking, season 2. And this first episode will open my Krzysztof Mikołajec, and I will just pass the ball to him, and he will introduce himself and he will talk about his session. Krzysztof, the stage is yours.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. In this session, we will focus on model-driven apps and custom pages. We'll learn how to use custom pages to bring dialogues in model-driven apps, how to create rich modals without leaving model-driven context. And this is something that we struggled before in model-driven apps. Custom pages opens new possibilities, but as well they are somehow limited. And I would like to show you some more advanced scenarios with parameters and callbacks, and how we can enhance our model-driven apps with custom pages and make it more user-friendly and open more business cases. Before we do it, few words about me. So currently I'm a Power Platform architect at Accelleron, and I'm leading the architecture part of the Power Platform in Accelleron. The Power Platform is our go-to technology. So all the internal applications are always firstly evaluated if can be built on Dataverse on the Power Platform. And model-driven apps are also our first go, so we are creating like unified experience for the end users. And currently we have, I believe, more than 30 applications, production applications, and it's growing. I am consultant, let's say, at heart, but driven by code. So in my experience, I did a lot of professional coding, let's say, but I'm not the coder by from the start. I just use the code when it's useful to extend the low-code platforms. And today's session will be a little bit about code. So I think it's for everyone. It's also for the makers. I will show the use cases, how we can quickly enable those custom pages. There's a little bit of JavaScript involved, especially in my demos and examples, but don't be afraid. It's just to explain how all this works. In the end, I will show how you can use that in real-life examples, and you will see how easy it is. And let's start with some context, introductions, why this topic. So we have model-driven apps, and we would like to extend it with some, let's say, dialogues. In the past, the only possibility was to use custom JavaScripts with HTML, so simple web resources, and this had no connection with model-driven app. We could just simply open the HTML web resource and display the UI, and then when something happened on the dialog, there was no possibility to catch the pass the callback, pass the data back to model-driven. With now we have also a custom pages. So we can open custom pages in Dialogs, also triggered from our model-driven commands, so from the command bar. And but the same limitation exists. We can open our custom page, do some logic, business logic, approvals, etc. But then when we would like to pass some data back to model-driven, it's not supported by the platform. We only can catch when the custom page is successfully closed. So that's the reason. In my work, we try to leverage the most from the low code. That's why we are bringing a lot of custom pages, also as the dialogues. But there was a huge business case also to pass the data back and or also send the data to custom page from the model-driven app context. So that was my motivation, and how and the next slides I will show you how I solved that case. But before that, let's quickly check how we open the custom page by default in the this is how it's implemented by the official documentation. So this involves a little bit of JavaScript code, and simply we need to call the method navigate to with correct input with our entity name, custom page name, page type custom, and also options how we would open the custom page. The target to tells simply to this method that we would like to open custom page as a dialog. And this is how it works by default. Then in custom page we need to handle with what record we are dealing with. So if we are passing the record ID from to the navigate to, then we have this record ID as a parameter in our canvas and in our custom page, and then we need to simply look up the table to find our record, and then we can have additional columns, metadata about this record, and we can implement some UI or logic. This is the default behavior, and there's plenty of great blog posts how to implement it. For example, by Diana, how to create dialogues, and also Matthew created a great blog post how to do that. And that those implementations are using this approach from documentation. But I would like to extend it. So what if I would like to pass some more data, not only record ID, and I would like to avoid lookups in my Canvas app. I would like to pass some context from a model-driven app, for example, status, or some data from different sections from model-driven app. And can we do it? And the answer is yes, we can do it if we would closely check the documentation from Microsoft. To open the custom page as a dialog, we need to pass the record ID and pass the record ID as a string. But just checking what type of this, what is the type of this record ID, is simply a string. That means we can pass more complex objects if you want, we can pass a record ID concatenated with some other properties, or we can pass JSON, for example, with some properly created properties. So in this case, this little bit of JavaScript code, I'm passing to custom page my two custom properties, just property 1 hello and property 2 word. As a JSON, I'm passing it similarly as before to method navigate2 with my page input, and then in the canvas app, in the custom page, I can simply use the same method as Microsoft suggests. So just reading the record ID parameter, and then there is a lookup. But in our case, we are not using lookup. We just use parse JSON function, and then voila, we have our properties, and they are available for use. So that's the simple trick how we can pass some custom properties to our custom page. And just to make it, let's say, more clear, I will show a simple use case of such a scenario from one of our applications. So this application, just a little bit of context, this application is for sustainability reporting. So we need to gather some data about energy, water, etc., per different countries, service stations, etc. And this is created as a model-driven application, and there is always some data collector, some HSC responsible that provides this data. And for example, I have one of the reports for my site in Baden. I'm a data collector, and I need to provide some information about energy, wastewater, etc. And this is built in model-driven app, and the data is just the columns. So I need to provide some values here. But one of the requirement was also to gather evidences. This was the not initial MVP requirement, but later on in the app. So how we can gather those, how to make a nice UI for the users to provide attachment evidence per our section. So for example, I have here some gasoline for company cars, and this is here it's real information, and I need to provide evidence, and during the submit of my report it would fail the submission because if the attachment is missing. So what we did here is a simple button with PCF from gallery, which is triggering this navigate to method, but also in the code in this navigate to we are passing some custom properties using this approach with JSON, and that's why we know from which section we are adding the evidence. So for example, I will quickly add here some attachment. You can upload it. In this app, it ends up the attachment in the SharePoint with custom columns properties from which section this was uploaded. And the implementation is pretty simple. because we are using this, we know from which section this was uploaded, because in the code we are passing our custom JSON properties, which basically looks like that. This is a little bit of JavaScript here, but this is very similar what I showed in the examples. So in the end, I'm passing the navigate to, but also a JSON string with custom page input, and I'm passing not only the record ID, but also the label, so I know which section it's about. This is just one of the examples of how it can be used, this passing data to custom page. But this is not an end. There is also, you could imagine, even this is even more useful, I guess, use case. What if we would like to pass data back to the model-driven app? So we have our custom page, and we have two buttons, approve and reject, and cancel, let's say, cancel, which should not do anything. By default, again, when we check how we open and close the custom page, it's again about this method navigate to, and the only implementation we have is when the dialog closes. So we don't know if it was our approve button, reject button, or just simple X or closing the navigation. And also we can handle error when there was issue with opening the dialog. So there is not default way to pass data back to model-driven context to perform some additional logic, for example. I will show you the real-life cases later on, but let's firstly check how we can solve this. And what I propose is to use very lightweight Dataverse table, where we'll store our callbacks. So the data that we want to send to our parent, which is model-driven app. And simply the implementation would be we would open the dialog, initiate the dialog with the method navigate to. With the same idea showed before, we will pass not only record ID, some additional properties, but we will craft a session ID, so our unique identifier. We will then do some logic in our custom page, some approvals, rejections, etc. And on the different buttons, we will save data to our lightweight table, custom page callbacks, with different data response that we want to pass. And then when the dialog closes, we'll retrieve that callback data that we just saved in our table, and then we can handle the callback in our JavaScript and do some additional logic. So simply what we will do here, we will implement a fetch scenario when we will read the data from this custom pages callbacks table. And then we can do whatever we want with it. And the table itself is very simple. So this is just 3 columns: session ID, custom pages, callback is our unique identifier, doesn't matter. So simply two columns used in this scenario, which is callback JSON, which is the properties that we want to send back to our model-driven, and session ID. And it looks similar to this. This is a little bit of JavaScript code. In the end, I will show how to implement it in your environments. So don't be afraid, you don't need to change this code. This is ready code just to copy paste. But now I will quickly explain what's happening there. So what I did is a method, is a function to open custom page, similarly like we have seen before with the navigate tool. So that's similar as before, but in our record ID input, we pass our JSON, and this JSON has a session ID input, which we before generates. This is just a random GUID, which will persist during the model-driven app context when we are on the form. So we are clicking the button, for example, this function is triggered. We are generating a custom GUID identifier. We are opening the custom page. We know the session ID, the identifier, because we just passed that. And then there is a logic in your custom page, some UI, and then when it closes on the button of the custom page, we can pass data to our custom page's callback table. And once the custom page is closed, we are fetching the data. And once we have the data, we can do some additional logic. Could be just saving the form, could be refreshing the form, could be changing some columns on the model-driven just to make the UI better for the users. And the fetching is very simple. It's just a simple fetch XML to get the session ID from our custom pages callback table with retrieve multiple records API. This is used in production in our case, and it's very lightweight. It runs very fast. This is also some kind of a magic. So what we can do with that? So we have our callback to model-driven, and what's next? If we have some simple skills with JavaScript, we can do some other transformations on model-driven form. For example, here in this simple example, once we get the data back, we can enable, for example, if it's approved or some data was passed in the custom page, we can refresh the form or apply some read-only rules. It's our logic that should be implemented. The beauty of this is when we click the, let's say, cancel button on custom page or X button, nothing will happen. So the UI and the experience for the users is consistent. So in the and how it works with the custom pages, it's simply when we have our button, let's say here, cancel ticket, before we close the custom page with the back function, we need to patch our custom pages callback table with our callback JSON, which we can prepared before, so it could be anything. And let's quickly see the example before we go to the end of my presentation. So the real life and the implementation together, just to also show you the how it can solve some business cases, just to give you some idea. So this is the example of another application, quite big application, I would say, in our environment. It's a ITSM tool for managing our our whole landscape of Accelleron, so to manage incidents, service requests, etc. So this is our global ITSM platform used for hundreds of support groups, support agents. And what we did here is we have an implementation of some service requests. I would not go much into details for that, but for our agents, we have some custom buttons to what can they do with the ticket. And we can, for example, assign the ticket. I'm a part of this fulfillment group, and I can assign this ticket to me. And this opens custom page, of course, and we have a assign ticket button. And what you can take a closer look here. So right now there's some service account assigned to this service request. When I hit reassign to me, there is a custom page logic to change the some data on the service request. And once this is processed, I can close the, this is somehow slow now on the development environment, but it should, it's now processed. I can close the custom page, and my model-driven reform is also updated, and it's saved. So, and why it's saved and why updated? Because there's a business case here where the agents, they don't have really the permissions to the service request. It's only read-only for them, and they are allowed to only update certain columns in certain status, and we are allowing to do that through the custom pages. So there are several custom pages to update the ticket with some user-friendly UI, and they can do it from here, which will in the end update the record itself and update just after closing the custom page. So it's seamless experience. Okay, a lot of introduction and use cases. Let's quickly jump to my last slide before the implementation together, where it can be used, such scenarios in some complex approval workflows when we would like to enhance the model-driven form, implement some very custom UI with SharePoint integration. It works well. Where you have some very advanced lookups on and you would like to make some custom views, for example, for the lookups, and not touching the JavaScript code in model-driven, but do it with low code on Canvas app. Also, the scenario that I just showed is if the user doesn't have the permissions on the record, we can bypass this with the custom page, and update the record, for example, with the flow on the custom page, and then just when the custom page is closed, just refresh the page. It's also a valid scenario. And there was a lot of introduction, but let's jump to the quick step-by-step implementation. I will just close all necessary pages. And what I did, I packed this simple JavaScript. It's available on my GitHub, so you can also access it if you would like to. This is ready to use JavaScript that you need to upload to the web resources on Model Driven. I will show it in a moment. It's similarly, you would need to do the same on when using just default approach. When you would like to open custom page from the button, still you need to trigger this navigate to. So there's a little bit of code. I just did this a little bit bigger, but it's generic. You don't need to change it. What you can extend is what happens after the custom pages closes. So this is the place where you can update your logic, but I will show it in the moment. So firstly, we have our JavaScript, and I have packaged this callbacks table in the simple and the small solution, so you can import it on your environment as well. When you import it, you will have custom pages callback table and simple security role for that as well. This table, as I showed before, this table is just with those two necessary columns. So we have our table in the environment. And now now I have a scenario where I have a model-driven application. This is just a template from Microsoft for onboarding body. And let's say we would like to extend this model-driven form with some custom page in the dialog, and also pass some data in and back to this model-driven context. So how to do it? Firstly, we need to upload this JavaScript as a web resource. So that is very simple. Just you go here, web resource, you choose the file, upload it. I already did it here, and you just need to remember to publish it as well. So once we have our web resource, then we can jump to our custom page. So this is simply you can start with here and create a new page. Once you have the page, you can implement your UI. Here I just placed two buttons to showcase how to do it. And then once you have your buttons, you also have the possibility to update this custom callbacks table. So what I did here, when it's the button approve is clicked, I'm passing the object with the status approved to my callbacks table, and when it's reject, I'm passing the status reject. So very simple patch, nothing fancy here. Okay, and then we just publish our custom page, and we would like to open it from the command bar in the model-driven app. So this, how to do it, you need to go to model-driven app, edit the app. I already have it open here. And then you would like to edit the command bar. So we are on the onboarders table, and I would like to edit command bar. Let's do that right now. And I would like to edit the main form. So I would like to open the custom page from my record context, and here we have this new experience, and we can create commands with PowerFX, but also we can run JavaScript, and that's what we are aiming here. And here we just do this run JavaScript. We need to find our web resource here. So in my case, it's already done, but basically it's at a JavaScript library, and then you need to find your web resource that we previously added. And then we need to launch some function from our JavaScript. This is, in my case, in my implementation, it's always the same. So it's copy paste, custom page handler launch. And what makes it dynamic is the parameters. And the first one is the primary control, which is basically the context of the model-driven app. This let's say prerequisite. Then I have a string parameter with the JavaScript function that will be called when there is a callback. And what does it mean? So if we go back to our JavaScript code in the end, we see that I have here a callbacks my handler. And this is basically this function. So we could have multiple handlers for different custom pages and different options. In this case, I'm just, when there is a custom page callback, I'm just in console log showing the data passed back. And then we have another parameter where we need to provide the page options. This is, I will show it here. This is just by default, also documented on Microsoft how to do it. So the position is to open the custom page dialog, the target, and there we have some properties how big the custom page should be. That's it. And the last thing in my implementation is the callbacks JSON. So there are some additional parameters. Once we have it, we can save and publish. And basically that's it. I forgot about the name of the custom page, the parameter tree. It needs to be in this sequence. This is just how this launch is implemented, but it's also quickly documented on my GitHub. So if you'd like to, don't need to remember it. But this name of the custom page, you can find it in the solutions. So if we have our pages, that's basically this. So logical name of our custom page. Once we have it, we can go to our model-driven app. I will simply open the developer tools to show you this console log, because in the code we have this that we want to show our callback, and then I'm opening my approval custom page. When I hit approve, you see how fast it was, the reading from the data from the table, and I have my callback status approved back. And now, last thing, what we can really do with that, how we can extend it very easily. So let's go back to the implementation. So now I'm just console logging the data, but let's comment it out and uncomment this piece of code. This is the same names, so the same handler, but besides console log, I'm also reading the status that's back in my callback. So if the status is reject, I'm changing I'm changing the state code and status of the record. The status will be inactive, and status reason some default value, I guess, inactive as well. And when it's approved, record will be inactive as well, but with different status code. So based on the two buttons, I will react differently. Let's just paste this code in our web resource. So let's go back to web resources. Here we have our web resource. We can update inline the code or upload the updated code. Just save. Important part is to always publish our newest changes to web resource, so it's available on our model-driven. Let's should be quick. Yes, then it's published. So let's go back here again. Let's go here. I will just read. Oh, sorry. I guess we closed the app. Just I wanted to refresh it. I will refresh it twice just to be sure. Okay, we have our, just pay attention to the status on the record. So it's now active and status reason active. And let's open our custom page and let's approve. So it should behave differently than reject, but let's do it. Okay. It was quick. We see already that the record is inactive and the status is updated and status reason as well. So very seamless interaction with model-driven. We don't need to tell the users click save button or what if they don't save. Yeah, we are preventing of some unattended use. And that's it. That was very simple implementation, and you can do it as well.
Thank you, Krzysztof. It was a very, very valuable session because the long story short is that I have my own session on Collab Days, and I was presenting similar solution, but with embedded Canvas app. So this is something else. But yes, someone told me that my approach is not in like a 100% okay, because I can pass the data faster. But this is the different scenario. And he was talking about your solution in this this model-driven app. So I thought to myself, as I already wrote to you, I will get Krzysztof to this session because I need to know what he invented, what he did, and I want to know how to improve my solution to be better in this one. So thank you very much for your session.